Welcome to Product Marketing Alliance. We're home to everything a product marketer needs to learn, share, and succeed in their role. The definitive product marketing course, Product Marketing Core, is the perfect platform for experienced product marketers to broaden their existing knowledge, as well as educate newcomers beginning with their product marketing journey. Our community. We're home to more than 10,000 product marketers across the world, and every single day, tons of product marketing specific conversations go down. The community hasn't just been an absolute wealth of knowledge and answers, it's the place for constant inspiration. With a PMA membership plan, everything a product marketeer could possibly need is all in there, all in one place. Whether you want to grab a template, learn about how to become more strategic from product marketeers who've mastered it, sit back and watch hundreds of hours of presentations from some of the world's most trusted brands, our packages have got it all and more. We really are, dare we say it, the one-stop shop.
Welcome back to PMA Take 10, PMA series in which we chat with a product marketing expert about a topic of their choice for 10 minutes or thereabouts. And today I'm thrilled to be joined by Rebecca Geraghty, a B2B product marketer and top 100 product marketing influencer of 2020. She's also the host of PMA's new Clubhouse show, Let's Talk Product Marketing, which airs bi-weekly on Fridays at noon. We're also thrilled to announce that Rebecca's a host of our upcoming podcast series, Get the Message, a show focusing exclusively on the ins and outs of product messaging. And in this episode, we'll be discussing how product marketing serves as a translation layer. So thanks so much for joining me, Rebecca, first and foremost.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So to start off, could you just tell us a little bit about the idea of product marketing as a translation layer and what does that mean?
Yeah, so this is an idea that I started writing about back in 2019, and I've really found thinking of ourselves as product marketers as this kind of layer sitting between multiple different types of groups, and then thinking of that as a translation layer is actually a really great way to think about the role and what it asks of us. And I found that adopting this mindset really kind of reflects the fact that we are typically sitting between the product team or the product in some form and the rest of the world, whether that's between product and sales, training sales and how to think about the product and customers, helping customers to understand the value from that product, or any other department that you can almost add to the list, whether that's customer support, a support team, all the different teams. We always seem to be at this center. And if I think across the training and enablement work that we do, the messaging work that we're responsible for, the demos that we lead, the focus groups, the research, all of this, really the underlying theme is the idea of helping to translate these concepts and adapt and reframe and provide the right kind of tweaks and context to help that be understood by the people on the other side. So I found it to be this really great way to think about the role and then help guide us in what we're doing day to day when executing on it.
Okay, that sounds great. And why is it so important for product marketers to understand the concepts of translation layers in product marketing?
Yeah, what I personally found is once I kind of had the aha moment to think of myself in this way, thinking like across all these different types of projects that vary so much from role to role and company to company and industry to industry, the one commonality across the whole thing has been the fact that when I approach a project, sitting in the middle and really thinking about the audiences on the different side that I'm trying to influence or help mobilize to some kind of outcome, thinking about what sort of adaptations and translations are needed to help them understand and get the most out of what's being said. Once I adopted that mindset and sort of diagnosed, I think this is really what I'm doing. I think that this is the essence of the role, is actually when I'm in this meeting, I'm helping translate so that the customer gets what this technical stuff means, or I'm helping adapt it so that sales can be like, when you're telling me all these, specs about the new feature, what does it actually mean when I go into there and the customer, and how do I talk about this in a way they'll resonate with? I realized all of this was involving this degree of translating, reframing, stopping and saying like, hey, just to break that down, here's what this means, or here's how you can think about this. Once I adopted that mindset, I kind of found I had the keys to really think about what all the different projects that we're doing that had no playbook, and most product marketing work doesn't have a direct playbook. Now I had this way to think about, okay, what do I need to do here to adapt or reframe or provide context that will help make us more effective in what we're doing? And I've found that it's really helped mobilize the teams that I've been with, or mobilize the projects that we've been on to get to better outcomes. That's one part. And then the other part is I wrote this article for Medium to kind of just put my thoughts out there about this concept. And I've had so many people over the last couple of years reach out and explain how much it connected with them, that it showed me a wider theme going on here in the work that we do.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, and how does this play out in the execution of our role as product marketers in areas like enablement, messaging, and positioning, for instance?
Yeah, so if we take training and enablement, one of the things that I've seen in many different roles is if a new product feature or even a new product is coming out, often there'll be a demo by someone technical that will show you a demo. And a lot of people on the other side are kind of left saying, what did I just see? What did I just watch? I heard a lot of things. I heard a lot of technical specs, and I was shown some kind of video or demo that I'm not quite sure how to connect the dots between what I saw, what it means, and now what I can go do. And so I think, a great example there is, instead of just letting that happen, the product marketer has the opportunity to jump in and be like, let's talk about what we just saw. When you saw the video of those specs, here's what this meant. At this point, what you're seeing is this going on. And that's important for this reason. And the result of that is you're going to be able to show the customer that use case that they've been looking for 3 years is now possible. Or that feature that they were asking for is now here, but here's how we do it. And here's how this means. So when you're in that demo, you can say the following things. I think taking that opportunity to connect those dots in the training sense, that's where we really see this play out. Be willing to jump in and reframe and provide that kind of context. And by the same token, when we do messaging, I think we're all very clear that messages need to differ by audience, and we want to always be tailoring our message. And I think sitting there and really saying, okay, if I am the translator in the loop here, is my message as written going to be understood? Or what tweaks do I literally need to make to this so that it is understood to somebody else? As if we were talking in a different language, when of course we are talking in the same language, but we are adapting the words. We are adapting what we're saying in order to resonate and have the aha moment with someone else. And I think the exercise of sitting there and asking yourself that question, and even voicing it out loud and putting yourself in that mindset of the other person to say, would they get it? Would they actually process what I'm saying and understand it? Those are some of the exercises that this really starts to play out. And I think, again, just the mindset of, I'm the person in the role here, sitting in the middle. And as I'm watching all these things play out in the meetings I'm in and the projects I'm driving, the demos that I'm running, etc., what could I be doing to help make this translation more fluid and help all these people better understand because of how I'm reframing, jumping in, providing context?
Yeah, sure. And I mean, this whole concept may be like totally alien to some, to some of the viewers, who may be watching this. So what would be your go-to tip for doing this in practice?
Yeah, there's a few go-tos over the years that I've found really helpful. And I think one of them is, asking some of those questions that we were just talking about of saying, if I was hearing about this product for the first time, or this feature, or whatever it is, fill in the gap, could be a new initiative, could be a new message, new industry we're talking to, whatever the case may be. If I was sitting there hearing about this for the first time, would I walk away, number one, understanding what I just heard? Ask yourself that question. And then being able to repeat it accurately in my next visit. And if the answer is no or maybe, that's now the opportunity to think, okay, how could we shore this up? How could we, enable people or provide something that makes this more memorable for them, or able to repeat it back more fluidly? Is there another type of tool that we could be providing? So for instance, I've often seen in product demos, a great demo kit or demo of some kind may be handed to the sales team, but it's not always accompanied by the talking points to deliver that demo in a certain way to hit certain messages and do it consistently. So, that's an opportunity then to think about, okay, if I'm really going to translate what this demo is going to sound like when it's used in the field, what set of supporting assets do I need? That's one example. Another example, I mentioned the video earlier. I remember giving a training session to sales, and I was the first ever product marketer in the role. And I did my training session, and part of it was product video. But instead of just letting the video run, it kind of was natural to me to just pause it every 5 seconds and be like, so here's what you just saw, and break down what was being shown on screen. And to my surprise, after the video, I got the feedback of, that was so great, because we're used to just being shown a video and expected to understand exactly what we saw, and we usually don't. So I think the biggest go-to I would wrap all that into is, don't be afraid to pause, to jump in, to check the room, to check, did everybody understand what was just said? Sometimes even being like, let's just kind of recap what we just heard, or even asking, does that make sense? What's confusing? How can I help provide that clarity? It's not always intuitive that we should be doing that. And there can be a lot of value added to the process simply by being willing to jump in, reframe, provide that additional context.
Okay, yeah, that makes absolute perfect sense, really. So what piece of advice would you consider to be almost like indispensable for any product marketer when it comes to being this like translation layer?
Yeah, I think, never being afraid to pause and check for understanding and take the pulse on understanding. Really thinking critically about, here's what I heard that person or that team say, and I'm sure it was great and solid and had tremendous value in what was said. But is there any gap between what was probably just heard by the person on the other side? And more often than not, there are gaps between what is said and what is heard. And it raises the question of, if we're talking and we're not being understood, then why are we talking at all? So we can be that gap fill in between, sort of looking for, did the message hit home as it was intended to, or are there areas where we need to connect those dots further? And how can we help do that? And also, it's not always necessarily us that has to fill the gaps in there. Sometimes just prompting someone else of like, hey, could you give us an example of what you mean? That can be such a game-changing statement to help provide this aha moment and actually, the game of telephone, like connect what was said to what was actually heard. So encouraging others, I think, is an indispensable piece of advice. Of encourage others to be these mini translation layers as well and help tighten up the entire process. And that really does tie back to our role as arbiters of messaging and the overarching story, which product marketing is often looked to do. I think that really plays out, not just in this large aspirational sense of the messaging we build for our products as a whole, but in the day-to-day moments where that message or story could be driven home. And that starts with understanding. And the continuous habit of being willing to jump in and help drive that understanding. That's where I think the realities of some of the messaging plays out, and our role can be wrapped up as helping provide that fluid translation so we all actually understand.
Brilliant. Oh, well, what an awesome chat. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for taking 10 to discuss translation layers.
Definitely. Talk again soon.
Thank you so much. And if you haven't already checked out the Clubhouse sessions with Rebecca, then make sure that you head to your app store and download the Clubhouse app.